sure.
Yeah.
I felt like versus Lima, the barrier of entry to play is so high. Like he just like feel like he checks me a lot on like stuff.
Yeah.
And before he starts playing, and I just didn't pass any of the checks. It felt like I got
Yeah.
like I feel like half his openings were China up shield. So
Yeah, that makes sense. He's very good at like level one stuff. I feel like is
yeah.
how I'd sort of describe his play. He's pretty solid at that. But I feel like anytime you throw in any sort of like more nuanced thing or like take several layers to get to something, I feel like he struggles a bit with that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, okay. And I actually think, just as an aside, I think that's pretty common with people that just play the game rather than like sit and analyze and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um, cool.
That
Can
makes
you
sense.
can you see?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you blue? I take it then.
I'm green. This is because it's first map.
Oh, this is this map. Okay, sorry. I thought
Yeah.
it was this liner, and I was like, "Why are you blue?" um, okay, and then I think Matt is actually the opposite, where he sort of overcomplicates too many things,
Yeah.
and
I
so
agree.
I actually feel like a lot of the time, um, the easiest sort of path to victory is just to sort of rush him down and like throw mix-ups in his face. But obviously, you don't have to win like that either. You can,
No.
try and beat him at his own game in some
Mhm.
spots. Um, I mean, I think you're destroying him right now. You just haven't got too much off your openings so far.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't
yeah.
take a game though. This
Really?
so yeah.
Okay. I mean, this looks pretty good so far, but yeah, it does just feel sort of like death by a thousand cuts so far.
Yeah.
I gotta say.
I feel like that's how a lot of my sets go.
Mm, nice. So yeah, so I feel like when it's going like this, it's sort of like the two ways you're gonna win is either by keeping on playing like this, and you're sort of gonna like trade down with him, and over time
Mhm.
you'll win, or I think you just have to sort of like I said, like take a big risk, or not even a big risk, but just deviate from the game plan a little bit,
Yeah.
and catch him in one of these spots, and then there's a chance to be like up 4 stocks to two, and then it's basically over at that point, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Um, but yeah, so far it just feels like like we said, you're just taking so many hits to kill him that
Mhm.
eventually he's gonna get one hit and he might just like zero to death you off of it,
Yeah.
And that always feels kind of bad because it feels like you're putting in a lot more effort than the other person, right?
Yeah.
Um,
That was supposed to be a wave dash back.
yeah, like I will check super quick.
Okay.
Yeah, 5.8 to 8.3.
Yeah.
And 10 neutral wins 17.
Yeah.
So I always like checking that again. It's not an exact measure, but I think it is a good indicator. Um,
I get antsy as well. When I think that's the problem with like the thousand cuts method. Like like
yeah,
when I don't get the kill, I'm like, oh, I just need to kill you now.
you
Like I'm just getting annoyed.
you got to count all the way up to 1,000, and a lot of people stop at like 200.
Yep.
That's how I
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
about it. um,
Definitely.
yeah, that's also a problem. That's like floaties is pretty similar like situation as well. Um, but yeah, I mean, what it might be so far is just that like um, so I've got like multiple thoughts I want to sort of say.
Yeah. That's fine.
I'd say the first one is that when you play someone that plays neutral a bit like this,
Mhm.
a lot of the time the openings you get, if you're not really clear about them, end up being a bit more. It can feel like you're caught off guard by them, or they're a bit
Yeah.
like uncomfortable to convert off of. So
Mhm.
that can be one thing.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like the openings you'll get on Mordo, I think will be a lot cleaner.
Yes.
Unless they're really like scrappy situations.
Mhm.
But I can imagine you doing something like turn around up tilt versus him and just hitting him, or like
Yeah.
jumping over something and then just down air whiff punishing him, right?
Yeah, it was. There's definitely that. That is true.
Yeah. So I think that was the main thing I was going to say there. So yeah, it might just be figuring out like how you can convert harder off of some of these hits, and then it won't feel as bad versus these players. Because I think it's very easy to like see how well a game is going based off of the quality of your openings, rather than like how many you're getting in total, and how many they're getting.
Yeah, because always the thing with Matt is I always feel in control, and then I always lose.
Yeah.
It's like...
Yeah, and that's the hard part. Like, I mean, look, he gets one hit here, and now you're dead.
Yeah.
And it's like, it probably shouldn't go that way, or at least if it is, you want to do that back to him, Like, yeah, it's fine if all his hits are like that, but what if all of your hits were like that as well,
Sure.
Yeah. This just reminds me of me so much. It's just like I've had this before as well, where it's like you want to do some like really optimal combo route or whatever and cover everything, right? So you go for this, and then you get knocked down, nothing happens. You get up there. You're like, oh, I can react with up tilt and cover everything. This is all great. And then he just does spot dodge, shine, back air, down air, right?
Yeah.
And it's just sort of like, if at any point in here you'd have just made a harder read, like, maybe you just run off the platform here and then like, forward smash him, or like run off shine to cover the tech in or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this ends up getting a lot better, because you sort of give up your combo a lot less, right? Like when you miss this, this ends up in a clean hit for him. Whereas when you miss a read, it's still sort of like your advantage, or at the very least sort of like frame neutral, right?
Okay.
And I think one really hard thing to sort of like concede sometimes is that a lot of the time, if you're going for like coverage on everything, I actually feel like on average you probably get less sort of have you heard of the term like expected value?
Yes.
Yeah. So I feel like the EV of going for like trying to cover everything in a lot of spots isn't worth it compared to just making a read. I think there are spots when that's the case, and the key is you have to do it well. So like, if in this situation you had a plan for exactly how you're going to cover everything and all of the DIs from that mapped out, then I think that's fine. Maybe something better you could have done is like dash jump shine over here, and then you can cover everything from there, right? But when it ends up looking like this, where it's like I'm going to down air one thing and then sort of like try and grab the other, and it just doesn't look very very rewarding, right?
No, it doesn't.
'Cause
what I even got off the grab as well, even if I got the grab.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's like your other options here are like dash attack, which they can slide off, isn't too great.
Yeah.
You don't have much there. Whereas again, if you like just went for a different hit, and I feel like this is the sort of recurring theme in both the neutral and the punish.
Yeah.
In the neutral, in terms of like you're spacing around everything really well, but then you just go for sort of like a general option to punish what they did.
Yeah.
And so when you do that, you're not as precise with exactly what's going to happen. And it may not have the same reward, right?
Yeah.
So it's sort of like you want to combine that sort of general like spacing outside the opponent, all those good things, with more specific reads when you are looking for the opening and when you are punishing.
Okay. So sort of the idea that everything I do should be like a read looking for something, like even if it covers like multiple things, or like there's always something that I'm looking for. It's like what you're saying.
Yeah, I think so. Like just be as specific as possible about what actually you're trying to cover and how you're going to cover it. And if that does mean that, yeah, there's some spots where you can go for a reaction tech chase and you can cover everything, that's great. But I wouldn't make that the default, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like, I think the default should probably be just like reading one or two things and then just sort of leaving the rest. Just because it's an incredible amount of work to even map out one thing.
Yes.
So when you're trying to do that for every single thing, there's just too. I personally think there's just too many variables to even begin to sort of do that a lot of the time.
Okay.
Maybe if you were playing a simple character, it would be easier, like Wizard, for example, right? But Falco is probably the most complicated character, so that also adds like a lot of complexity to it, combined with the fact that like he doesn't have a clear punish game sort of like
tree.
Yeah, like with Falcon, the best thing to do is to get a grab in a lot of spots, right? Whereas Falcon doesn't really have that. It depends a lot on the opponent, how they're DIing, forward smash in one spot might be a kill, but it might also just lead to nothing,
Yeah.
So it really depends, and I think you need to just sort of lean into that.
Okay.
So like I don't know, just using an example would be like this. So you got a spot where you grab back here. Where is that? Like you go for a dash back grab here, right?
Yeah.
So what I also want you to do if you're gonna go for this, because I think it's very easy to be like, oh, I'm next to them, let me just grab because it'll cover a lot of options, right? But especially Matt's the sort of player, coming from like Street Fighter and stuff, right? He's not just gonna let you grab him for free, So this is a spot where, like, if you're a bit more specific and we're like, some percent of the time, I'm gonna just do a late aerial, like a late down air here.
Yeah.
You could take the stock off of that, right? And it's like, yeah, you're opening yourself to a mix-up, but you're getting no value here anyway versus certain players if you don't.
Yeah.
So that's just an example of a spot where I feel like, and I've had this before as well, where it's like, oh, I can just grab for free. And it's just like, you need to recognize that it is actually a mix-up.
That makes sense.
Similarly, another one is just like in this spot, when you're in shield as well, like what are you specifically playing around, right?
Yeah.
Like it is good to sort of like hold shield as a default. But you do also need to be willing to just spot dodge, right?
Yeah.
On stuff like shine grab.
Okay.
Nice.
I don't know. I'm so certain I'd get that shine shield.
Yeah, it's a hard one. Let me watch it again.
I must have been so late.
You were a couple of frames late. He actually executed really well on it.
Okay.
But yeah, you could have still got it.
Yeah.
I think this might be. Oh, go on. No, go on.
I was gonna say, I think I remember vividly, like, thinking that I got that shine. But yeah.
Yeah, I think this is one where angling your shield up can help as well. Give you like a frame more leniency or so. Yeah, you're just a tiny bit late. Or I think another one, yeah, I think this is a really good example as well. So, like, you jump out of the way, which is great, and that's a pretty good default, like, response here. But once you've done that as well, you need to think about, like, what are the likely outcomes from me jumping away, right? I'd say the most common one at your level is that they aerial or laser into the corner, right?
Yeah.
So you jump out of the way, they've whiffed here. So then, I mean, I don't know if you're trying to like dash past and then like laser maybe.
Like yeah, that was definitely wasn't intentional. Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking, maybe you could like drop through with a back air or like play around an up tilt. Yeah. Like I feel like this is a really strong situation for you to try and push your advantage in. Like I feel like the main things people do here is either like up tilt, shield, maybe dash.
Yeah.
Maybe run off turnaround double lasers if they're Ginzo or someone. Um, but yeah, you can see how like all of these, if you get the right read here, like that could be really good for you, right?
I think I tried to do like
Jump off,
jump
turn
off,
around.
turn around, which I in my head like, oh, that covers every, like that
Yeah.
covers pretty much everything, except unless they like jump and follow me.
Yeah, and it's sort of like again, it's a good default, but you have to get the hit eventually, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes what can happen is that we can sort of end up giving up actual really good opportunities for a laser opportunity that's actually less good, right? Down to the fear of I don't want to play a mix up here.
Yeah.
But I'd say that this situation is a lot stronger than getting a laser out here.
Definitely.
Personally, he's whiffed into the corner. He's at 60. I feel like the chances of him winning the mix up compared to you winning the mix up here are pretty low.
Yeah.
And you do still always have this option. And I would say this might be an option that you'd want to do maybe if you're ahead, right? If you don't want to take as many risks. Or maybe it's like the first interaction of the game and you're not really sure how they're going to play. But yeah, I think that's something to keep in mind.
Okay.
A similar situation I've sort of thought about and fixed recently is when somebody whiffs into the corner and you say you like teched in place or something, or whiffed in some way. A lot of the time, it's really easy to just be like, oh, I'm just gonna jump over here with a laser, right?
Yeah.
And you sort of, it's like, yeah, you're keeping control because you get the laser out, but you're also giving up the opportunity to punish anything they did here.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, you could just actually sit here and dash dance, and then if you don't see what you want, you can then go and do the laser. So similarly here, like, you could wait up here for, say, run off double lasers, dash dance, whatever, shield. But then if you don't see that, you could then go back to reclaiming neutral and sort of getting the control back, right?
Yeah. Wait, are you drawing on the screen, by the way?
Yeah, was it not
Because I think it's because you're sharing dust.
Okay. All my equations and all that shit on.
Yeah, that makes sense.
No, makes more sense. Yeah, okay. I've thought about getting a Wacom actually. Yeah. I think that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, so that was all I was gonna say there. And you messed up, which is fine. But let's see what he would have done. He would have done run forward. And I think like that would have been pretty good versus what you did, honestly, right?
Yeah, he probably would have got shine or something.
But you can see like if you watch from his perspective, like he does not care about you, drop through down air, drop through back air, anything like that, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Nice. Nice. That was just hard. Yeah. So like this is a spot where like I don't mind trying to go for like good coverage, right? Because I think it is actually worth it.
Yeah.
But like this one, for example, right? So like you got a really clean laser here. Yeah. So this is the spot where like you want to have your answers like as figured out as possible, right? Yeah. And sort of like this is where I'd say you want to spend your time sort of like optimizing and figuring out what mix-ups you want to play. So I feel like something like just naring through him here isn't really, again, it's not really like, it's just a sort of generic like I want to hit him,
Yeah.
And if we like actually sit and think like what does this nair actually beat or cover and what's the reward of it and all those things, it's not actually that great for us, right?
No. Because all I was thinking was I want to get out the corner, to be honest. So I was like, I'll just cross up the net, and then like I'm out, and I've got like positional advantage.
But I think
definitely get something stronger here.
Yeah, and I think it's again like if you want to get out of the corner, I would suggest just like dash full hopping or something. At least there's like zero risk to that, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you do this and he shields, you're at risk of getting bad out of shield, wave dash shined. Like he just gets to sort of reset from here, I feel like.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you're it's sort of I feel like I'm just getting deja vu with what Drugfox has said, to be honest, but it's just he said that. I mean, you've watched his lessons. He said this before. It's just like if you're gonna back up and be safe, but if you're gonna take a risk, take a risk, And I feel like you're sort of in between both here.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, if you want to take a risk and gamble and hit him, then like, you know, dash up grab, doing a late aerial to call out like a spot dodge or a shine.
Yeah.
I'd say that's your baseline like 50-50, and then you could sort of work from there. You know, you could do a I don't know, a late down air like back here if you want to read like a roll or a wave dash or a dash away or something.
Yeah.
You know, that's how I sort of think about this rather than like, oh, I've got a laser time to hit him. You know, it's like how are you going to hit him? What's the actual hit you're going to look for? You know.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I think the only times you can be like, let me just hit him, is if it's like, you know, Moth just whiffed a forward smash or something like that. When it's just like a really clean, like you just can do anything you want. Yeah. Whereas even this spot is a mix-up, right? Because you know he can shield.
Yeah.
So just being really aware of that. And that was unfortunate. And now he's gonna probably kill you. Okay.
I'm so scared to ledge dash last stop.
yeah, no, I get you.
Anything but ledge dash.
I think a good panic versus Falco is like the double laser side B mix up.
Yeah.
Especially if you do a few stalls and then go for it, it's like so hard. Nice. Yeah, same with this one as well. Like, I think here you either want to just like, I'd personally just try and hard read here if I'm honest. But again, if you are going to go for like covering everything, like you need to do the hard thing, which would be like, I don't know, like full hop wave land, for example, right?
Yeah.
Like doing this, you don't have enough time.
Yeah.
So again, I think if it's a spot where you're uncomfortable, go for just a read rather than some like sort of planned out sequence that you're not 100% on, you know?
Okay, yeah.
Like I think Mango would have probably just double jumped down it here and then killed him. For example. And it's like, you know, yeah, in theory there's like mix-ups there and like it's probably not the best thing to do, but it depends a lot on the context of the game as well, right? If it's last stock and you're scared to ledge dash, like you shouldn't also be going for like some super hard confirm that you're not even sure about, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah, 100%.
Nice. Yeah, that's pretty tragic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's look for a few of the like punish situations, and then let's look at the Mordo set because I do think that was actually the biggest thing, or at least not even just punish, just like spots where you could have maybe got more. So I thought this is all great. That's fine. So like shine grabbing, obviously is pretty good versus Falco, right?
Yeah.
Grab's actually one of the. It is probably the matchup where you get the highest reward from it as well, off of up throw. Nice. So again, like, this is just similar to the Nair. It was down air, so it was a bit better, but it's still like, look at how it's hitting, right?
Yeah.
It's not in a way where you can convert that well.
It's because it's early. If that was a later downer, that would have converted to up tilt, right?
Yeah, there's two things. So it's either like if you did it later, or if you drifted in with the downer. Like you see how you drifted all the way through.
Yeah, yeah.
Other than that, that was fine. Nice. Just a bit late on that. That's fine.
That's supposed to be a shine.
Yeah, that's fine. But again, this is also one where, like, if Slippy would stop being annoying. Let me get back to it. I think you up tilted him out of a double jump.
Right.
Right? So it's like, I think there's probably something higher reward you can get than,
yeah, shine.
Than shine, right? Like, I think if you literally just, like... okay, fair enough. Yeah, so like... yeah, it does change a lot. If they use the double jump here, I think you just go for a hit off stage. Like
yeah, definitely.
Full hop, nair or something. Forward smash. Okay, yeah,
He
that's fine then.
Jumped, didn't he?
Yeah. Always. Yeah. I think I've told you before, right? But like, look for the rings.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also the audio cue. If you're listening to audio,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether you do or not, but
Sometimes.
yeah. Nice. Nice. Yeah, like I think something like that is way better, right? Like you maybe didn't need to take that much of a risk, but it was still like you had a specific read you were going for. I feel like.
Yeah.
And it's actually not the riskiest thing, just because if you DI the shine away there, they don't get much. And then I think the respawn is pretty big. Get out fine here. Now you're out. So I think I would wait sort of like one more interaction before trying to get lasers out here.
Okay.
So I would either like jump to, like full hop, right? Or try and like if you are gonna call this out, like you know maybe wait on the platform and then drop through with like a downer or something.
Yeah.
Or like read an up tilt or something, right? Whereas I feel like you drop through with the laser and it sort of puts you in a really ambiguous spot, right?
Yeah.
Whereas I think you could just full hop for free here and he can't kill you for it, you know? Whereas like this he can kill you for, right? If something like that happens. And I think you do end up dying. Okay, you do get away. Slide off here is also really good. As I'm sure you're aware. God damn it. Yeah, the other thing as well, just about that sort of like really slow methodical approach is like you're playing so many situations that if you sort of end up missing one like this, where you try to jump and hit him, right?
Yeah.
And then he can just kill you for this, you know? So it's sort of like if you are going to play that way, you just need to be really, really sort of diligent about playing all of the situations well, you know? Whereas someone that just takes more risks and sort of like, you know, someone like Mordo's playstyle, right? Like, he won't really get this problem because all of the sort of like openings he's trying to get, he's like making a more specific read, but he's sacrificing like coverage, you know, and sort of playing outside their range and setting up good situations. You always want to laser this. Pretty much always. If they do shine retreating aerial, they don't have time to do pretty much anything other than sometimes they can forward smash and sometimes they can dash attack.
Okay.
But you can see how both of those are like super, super risky, right?
Yeah, yeah.
In this spot. So I'd say them. Oh, go on.
When you say sometimes they can forward smash, is it like what
depends
what
on
like...
yeah, depends on the spacing and how late they do the aerial. Like I think if you did a rising like this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And then forward smash is 13, I think, right?
I think
so 29 and laser takes like 19. So you could definitely get it here. I think dash attack you might be able to catch you with. The other thing is the laser height as well can like sometimes they go under with forward smash, dash attack.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just really hard to contest. Whereas if they landed a bit closer, they could do something like jab maybe, right?
Yeah.
Or forward tilt. But yeah, I'd say the main mix up there is just like hold shield or laser up shield.
Okay.
It's unfortunate. Yeah, and I feel like a lot of these mess ups again are coming out just because it's a longer, slower paced game, right? So there's more opportunities to mess up. And again, when you're not specific about the exact openings you're going for, you're gonna mess up more, right?
Yeah.
So like this one as well. I think this is fine. I'm not sure if you tried to like chase him rolling away here or something.
I think I tried to shield drop down
okay.
After that was a down smash, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you can see how this is another one where it's like you're sort of trying to cover everything, but it ends up in you like having to pressure shield, and then you know it's not great, right? you know, if you're gonna RTC and try and cover everything here, again, like, do it well.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, definitely.
It's fine. I think another big thing, just as a random thought, that can change between opponents is how they recover. If you don't have like a really well thought out edgeguard flowchart, you can find some people are really easy to edgeguard, and then your openings per kill like drops dramatically, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you play someone like, I felt like you had a pretty hard time edgeguarding Matt, personally. There was a lot of like high side B like this.
Yeah.
That you did throughout the game. So yeah, just an example of how to beat this, I would like try and either like short hop off and then double jump dare up here. Just some sort of hitbox around this sort of zone.
Okay.
You could full hop nair or back air as well. But it is quite hard to cover. If you grab the... Oh, go on.
You wouldn't like stay on. Oh, I guess you are. You're just double jumping. You're jumping back and then you're going up, right?
Yeah. So the reason I don't want to like stay on stage and then just see them do it and known bear is that if they try to like edge cancel, you're gonna get caught. He doesn't edge cancel here, but I think he could have if he drifted a bit better.
Yeah.
The other thing you could do is just a high bear from ledge. Like if you'd have bared a few frames before this, I think you would have caught him as well.
Okay.
So yeah, just something to be aware of. But you can see how like how many like just like weak hits and like sort of just not very valuable hits you're getting, right? Yeah, cool. Let's do you want to send through the Mordo one?
Yeah. I just sent game 1 of the first one we played. God, it's gonna take so long to actually fix that. That's such a it's like a core part of like my entire game is like, you know, you gotta shift it, but it's fine. Okay, I sent it to you.
Cool. See what the stats are for this game. 9 and 6.5.
Yeah.
So you can see they're still low, but like so that's how it can sort of be like they're not always completely accurate. Like a big contributor to it is edge guarding, I think. Because if you're letting them back, like each time you let them back, that's another like number on the tally, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So yeah. Yeah, so I mean, first opening you got, right? Wave dash shine on a laser. I don't think that was the sort of opening you got on Matt at all.
No. No.
Yeah, although I'd say something like this was pretty similar, right? So you do laser, laser, nair.
Yeah.
And then I'd say it doesn't feel like you have a great plan for like how to convert off of that, right? Like I think the nair itself was probably fine. But you know, for example, you might want to do like shine and then like short hop backwards here instead of like trying to wave dash. It looks like you thought the nair shine would hit.
Yeah, I definitely did. I definitely
Yeah.
thought it. Well, I thought I was starting up shield pressure to do because that's why I did the net
Uh,
shine. But like,
yeah,
I sort of assumed that he'd like. I didn't think he'd spot dodge basically, and I think that really threw me off.
yeah. I just feel like if you're gonna think about shield pressuring there, I wouldn't usually wave dash into them, but
Yeah.
at least not versus spacies.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah, this is an exact example of like what I was saying with the dash dance thing.
Yeah.
So like you're here, he just went forward smash, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you immediately back off with laser.
Yeah. Okay.
And
That's
it,
exactly what I'm saying.
yeah. So it's like you sort of by doing that preemptively, you sort of give up the opportunity to pressure something like instant double jump in the corner, right?
Yeah.
Like you can imagine if you were just here, like there's a good chance you kill him, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like as long as he doesn't literally like approaching laser out of this situation,
Mm-hmm.
you're fine if you dash dance, right?
Yeah.
And then if you don't see it and he just dash dances or something, that's when you can back up and sort of start doing this again.
Yeah.
Because like look what happens after this, right? Because I think this is one of the things that's actually more risky to do versus Falco. Because if you do this, he gets his own laser out, and now this is a much worse spot for you, right?
Yeah.
Compared to before. Like the end result, like if we sort of look at there's a situation here, you roll, he's whiffing forward smash in the corner, and then 2 seconds later, this is the situation, right?
Yeah.
You know? And you do win it in the end, which is great. Decent punish. You know, I think this is one where also you went for the same sort of punish where you tried to cover everything, but not in sort of the best way. But he tries to run off the platform here, so you don't actually get punished for this. Whereas I feel like versus Matt, he might have like shielded or like spot dodge or something, you know?
Yeah.
So this is where it can be sort of hidden that like you're still making some of the same mistakes, but one person's punishing them and the other person isn't.
Yeah. Okay.
So just really check with your openings, like, did they actually have time to do something about it or not? You know, like this one he had time to move, right? Mm-hmm. Quite hard to see, but... And then clean opening again. Like, I don't think Matt gave you any of these hits, really.
No.
Like, just high aerialing a shield and then, like... So I think part of it is figuring out how to get openings when they're not just giving you freebies like that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think, you know, similar to the Nair, in the spots where it's like, you just get a free hit, I think you're doing really well. Mm-hmm. But it's when you have to sort of play a mix-up to get the hit that it's going a bit poorer.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna guess this is also just true across all matchups.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I mean, this one's fine, like, you know, you go in here, you try to read something, or at least that's how I saw it, and you got up tilted. So, like,
yeah.
You know, that up tilt could have also him been getting, like, dash dance down air or grabbed or something. Mm-hmm. So I don't mind that. Yeah, that one wasn't as bad, I don't think, because of the frame advantage, right? Like, you were sort of neutral. Yeah. So I don't mind that one as much. Just the ones where you're in, like, a huge advantage and then you still sort of back up immediately. Again, it's not bad to back up, but just, like, give yourself the chance to punish things, you know? If they happen. Nice. That's hard.
There was a vision.
Yeah, you know, I get it. I think if you're gonna do that, just wave dash the ledge.
Yeah.
um, yeah. Again, so far I think the edge guards have been a little bit easier on Mordo, right?
Yeah. It's like the same result of the game. Like I think Mordo wins, but it's like
Just
last
about.
stock.
Yeah.
But like, yeah. But it's like it just feels so much easier versus Mordo. But I guess that's why.
Yeah. But I do think if you were hitting the punishes versus Matt, I actually think that game would be easier than this one.
Yeah.
Because like because it's like with your biggest openings, you're making it even with Mordo, but with your smallest openings, you're making it even with Matt, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Nice. Yeah, like this sort of opening never happened versus like laser 2 times approaching laser the AC bear.
Yeah.
Into you know, and like you don't convert off of it, which is unfortunate.
I think I just missed my shine. Yeah.
Yeah. But that was a really clean opening, right?
Mhm.
Yep, and then you probably get killed here. Never mind. Yeah. I think with this one, I think you just grab ledge.
Yeah. Yeah. Watching it back, I can just grab ledge. Yeah.
Yeah. After this one, you're probably safe to grab ledge unless they're cracked and like SDI up side B or something.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I thought this, like, I think you just back up to the platform here rather than try and contest on the ground. Just because there's no way for him to really do anything about it, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously the down air out of shield was not the best. I mean, it could have been something, but, you know, you did hit him for trying to grab one time.
Yeah.
But,
okay.
Yeah, okay. Let's, I think where the best way to go from here is... There's actually a really good lesson for this. The Drug Box does with Ginger. It's one of I don't know exactly which one it is, but it's one of the ones where they talk about him versus Mango in the Ditto.
Yeah.
And it's obviously a very, very high level version of, I feel like, you versus Mordo. Or like you versus Matt. Where it's like Ginger's trying to create all these like different situations and all that, and then he just like either drops the punish or like goes for something that's too difficult in the wrong spot, and then Mango just does something really simple and wins. And it's not to say that simple's always better, but just that there's a time and a place for each, I think.
Sure. When I'm like in like matches and trying to get better at this, like what should be going through my head, sort of thing, do you think?
Yeah, so I think one of the things is just, you know, in the combo game or just in general, like that mindset switch of like, if I'm uncomfortable, I just want to sort of like read one thing and play it safe, rather than rather than trying to do something really optimal and cover everything in a way that isn't sort of planned out, you know. Because more than likely that leads to either a really bad quality opening or them reversaling you, I feel like.
Makes sense.
And then the second part, I don't know, I feel like it's one of those things where like if you get that part down, the rest of it will sort of cascade, because, you know, if you hit more of your openings, then you're going to feel more in control. You know, like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, and for the situations where I'm like, try to go for a specific read rather than just a general hit, that's just about you sort of going away and thinking about what are the mix-ups in each of these situations.
Yeah.
And then when you're in game, you're just thinking about that, right? You know, are they going to spot dodge? Well, then I'll do like a late aerial. Or something, you know.
Okay. Makes sense.
I think let's watch a VOD, because that's always pretty good to do. Mango versus someone. Are there any Falco sets recently that you think of?
God, there's been any Falco sets recently? Not I know of.
There's like Magi Ginger and like all those, but I don't think they'll be very good for sort of showing what I'm on about.
Okay.
I guess I could just watch one of the Mango Ginger sets maybe, or Mango Magi. I think there's a Mango Magi set. From
there was Mango Fiction, like fairly recently.
Yeah, there's the Pound one. I don't know whether they did another set.
Oh, there was Mango Fiction at No, that was Fox actually.
Yeah, I think all the other ones are Fox Falco.
Yeah. Because all the mango Falco ones I could think of was that Falco pool at the online summit, which was
Yeah,
quite a
yeah,
while
yeah,
ago.
yeah. That was the one I commentated.
Yep, I remember.
Trying to think what like Falcos. Is there a Mango Bobby set maybe?
Oh, Mango and Bobby played
Genesis.
at Genesis, yeah, and Mango fucked him up.
Yeah, I mean we
It's
can
like
watch
an
that one.
8-minute set.
Yeah, I just don't know whether it'll be like the same sort of dynamic, but
Yeah.
Bobby's definitely more like a Mordo. I feel like.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so like first one here wasn't that great, but like this one, right? So we just laser, jump, late aerial, right? And it's sort of like that's gonna cover, you know, shield. It's gonna cover a shine. Just like a lot more reward, right, than just like naring through.
Yeah.
Yeah, laser out shield anytime they sort of drift back. That one's a bit different, but just goes for an up air read. I think again, like I think this is a spot where like, maybe someone like Ginger might have tried to, like waveland onto the platform or something, but then there's not enough time here to really do that. So then just going for a read is the better option, you know.
Yeah.
And he can probably just kill off that, but yeah. So you know that one decision to go for a read instead of and take a 50-50 rather than try and get a bad RTC. You know, gets him to stock, right?
Yeah. And he doesn't lose anything if he doesn't get the read.
No, like if Bobby tech rolled away there instead, Mango's still in an amazing spot.
Yeah.
If he reads tech away, or like tech roll, and then Bobby tech's in place, it's not as great, but it's still not. You know, you waveland, try to up tilt tech in place, and then they shine you. You know, levels.
Yeah,
bad.
yeah.
Yeah, it goes for a down air as well. So this one, I think he just read an AMS attack. You know, he can cover either direction, and if he DI's in, DI out would be pretty hard to cover, I think. But
yeah.
Yeah, plays a late aerial. Bobby sort of jumps out. But then he's immediately ready to play the next situation, right? It's like he knows that if he does jump out of that, then I can probably laser and, you know, be fine.
Yeah.
Plays that one a bit wrong.
Is that lay downer?
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I think this one. So I think the difference with this retreating laser compared to your one, I think first of all look at the spacing, right? He does it a lot closer, which to me signals that like he's specifically trying to play around this option.
Yeah.
Whereas I think he might have ended up back here, and then he can't really do that.
Yeah.
And it was also a spot where he didn't have as much advantage, right? He had a little bit, but yeah. Yeah, I think this is another one. So like, he takes in place. Bobby whiffs. I think a lot of people would just try and down air here, and then they would get CC shine probably. But you know, he goes for a laser because he's like, I need to play a mix up rather than just hit them. You know.
Yeah. Okay.
That was good. Yeah, goes for jump shine again. This is probably just like reading a spot dodge or a jump out of shield with a laser maybe. But at least he's reading something, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why he jumped in there, but okay. Marzipan F smash.
Yeah. would have landed on the platform. The top
yeah,
platform,
yeah. No, I was gonna say. I mean, look what he does here. He just goes for a read, right?
Yeah.
And then here he should have CC walked, but he's not a nerd.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think like this is a spot where it's probably good to do some sort of RTC coverage, right? Is if you can crouch on top of them, then I'd say that's pretty unlikely for you to get reversal a lot of the time here. So it's a much cleaner situation to go for it in, I think. This situation again, right? He's down to just like jump through and back air rather than trying to back off. Yeah, that one wasn't the greatest, I don't think. I think he's just predicting like shield, like jumping out of shield at close range too much, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's try and watch the one of the manga ginger sets actually.
If you do think they're gonna shield, but you think they're gonna hold shield, are you just like shine grabbing pretty much?
Yeah, I would either grab or late aerial or laser.
Okay.
I just think grab's so high reward in the matchup that it's worth actually going for a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Unless they're like really good at DIing up throw to the platform, which not a lot of people actually are a lot of the time, I don't think. SCL Summit 10. I think it was this set they watched in the lesson. Maybe it's this one? Let's just watch like this. It's quite old, but I think he gets 4-stocked. Yeah, this is when balanced gaming was still a thing, so...
I can't believe there's nobody watching this.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's something like this, for example. I feel like... I don't think, like, this looked like it covered a lot, but I feel like it actually didn't cover a lot, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you know, the double shine was good because it covered, you know, like, roll, maybe. Or, I mean, it didn't even cover roll, right? Like, it might have covered roll in. Does he roll before the shine? Yeah, he rolls before the shine, which is fine. But yeah, a lot of the time, like, double shine, for example, doesn't cover roll, actually, because of either staling or spacing. I feel like what Mango would have done in a spot like this is maybe, like, shine laser or something.
Yeah.
Or, like, shine wave dash back, re-roll. He rolls the other way, gets a laser, you know, keeps control, right? And then the Nair after also didn't really cover too much, right?
Yeah.
Unless he thought Mango would, like, just run forward into his move. Which isn't really, like, too... Like, unless he thought he would, like, approaching laser or something. But yeah, it's just that sort of spot where it feels like, oh, you know, this looks like it covered so much, but it didn't really get him value on much, right?
Sure.
Like when you think about what are the options Mango could have picked that actually would have, you know, got hit in a high reward way versus a lot of this, there isn't too many, I feel like.
Okay.
Oh, I thought he was going to double bear that. But yeah, like, I mean, and this one, right, like, Mango's aerial and shield, and he just reads a roll, right? Or, like, he's pretty, what's it called? Ready to cover a roll.
Yeah.
Goes
he sets
for a
himself
read.
up for it with the drift on his bear.
Yeah, yeah. Goes for a read here again. Probably not the best read, but works out. And then he's also ready to convert off of the read, right?
Yeah.
Like, that down air, I think, was sort of lucky that it sort of ended up doing anything. Right, I think he tried to jump for some reason. Could have maybe called, like, a wave dash back or something. But... Again, like, approaching laser and then late aerial, rather than just doing, like, nair to try and hit him, right? Shine turnaround laser on the back of the shield. And then, you know, what's Ginger doing here, right? So he gets this back air. And he's just trying to back air again. He's just trying to hit him, right?
Just keep him in the corner, yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, I feel like Mango might have done, like, dash back and then, like, late aerial here, or, like, dash back jump shine, or...
Yeah.
You know, something like that, right? Whereas I feel like, again, this sort of, like, covered a lot of things, but didn't get him much, right?
Yeah.
You know, the outcome of him getting this pair is Mango full hopping out and then down airing him in the end, you know?
Okay.
But then, you know, it's still going quite well for Ginger, right? I mean, this is like, what, 5 years ago now? And you can see that, like, if he'd have just converted a little bit harder on some of these situations,
He'd be up.
He'd be up, right? So it's not that the game plan of, like, you know, trying to cover lots of things and accounting for lots of things is bad. It's just that you need to sort of, like, pull the trigger in some spots, right?
Yeah.
Nice, yeah, I thought that was a lot better, right? She's actually reading a specific option there. And the double shine sort of messes him up, I think. Yeah, this is another spot where he just sort of, like, just tries to hit him, right? Again, I feel like Mango might have done something like run off laser here. Maybe. Again, like, playing a mix-up, right?
That makes sense. Okay. I feel like this is going to take ages to actually, like,
implement.
get down. Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, I feel like you watch enough gameplay and you think about the game enough that, like, it won't take as long as you think. Okay. At the very least, I think you'll start to recognize spots really quickly where, like, oh, I can't actually just hit them, I need to actually play a mix-up. That's, like, the main thing I'd say to just take from this is try to identify those spots a bit better.
Yeah.
And then you can just sort of figure them out one by one.
Okay. So I'm playing Modest in, like, a little bit. Is he, like, is he a good person to look at, like, while I'm playing him? Like, is he good at this sort of thing? Or do you think,
Yeah, I think there's some spots where he's definitely intentional with, like, how he's mixing up. But there are also a lot of spots where he just sort of, like, tries to hit you, you know?
Okay.
I think a really good one to practice versus him is he does a lot of spot dodges out of shield. So that would be a really good opportunity to practice, like, the shine grab versus doing, like, late aerials sort of mix-up.
Is there anything else that, like, what else beats, like, spot dodging and shield, by the way? Just, like, aside from the...
So... No. So late aerial and laser are the main ones. You can also do just stuff like shine rising down air can, like, catch it as well. You can do double shine isn't too good versus it because sometimes you get spot dodge shined. You can do stuff like shine wave dash back as well, and that isn't like a true punish, but it puts them in a pretty bad spot. Yeah, it's mainly just like delayed stuff or putting out a hitbox.
Makes sense.
Yeah, cool. I mean,
try out, think about that stuff.
Yeah.
I have one more question, by the way. That's also completely unrelated.
Go for it.
Ledge dashing.
Yeah.
I'm always losing frames on where it says jump on Unk Punch, but I don't really know what that actually, like, how to fix that. Like, what I'm doing wrong, what I'm doing slow. Because I'm hard limited at, like, 9 frames. I cannot get higher than 9 frames ledge dashing.
Can you send me, like, ideally a video of you doing it, but if not, just like a screenshot of, like, you know, the overview that comes up?
Yeah. Well, like, now or just, like, whenever?
I mean, you can do it now if you think you can get it.
Yeah, hopefully.
If you can get a 9.
Yeah, no, that actually this makes so much sense because I feel like in all my matchups I get reversaled a lot, and like this would like make sense as to why. I feel in my head, oh, I dropped that combo, oh, I got reversaled, like
Yeah.
like, and I guess yeah.
And yeah, that's like fine to think sometimes, but you also really need to be honest with like, is this something that like I have practiced and thought out?
Yeah.
And I'm dropping it, or is it just like a spot where I'm sort of being maybe a bit arrogant in thinking I can get everything when I really can't, you know? Yeah, just make sure you share your screen when you.
Oh yeah, sorry.
This is where you hit a 14 and then I don't see it. So do you do back or down?
I do down.
Okay.
Oh, that's it. I'm nervous now. There you go. That's like my normal typical, and obviously I lose a frame on like full. And
yeah. So the jump from what I'm aware is the time between you jumping and then doing the air dodge, right? So Falco usually wants. I think the best you can do it with is 4. I'm not 100% sure on with down, but I know that's the case for back.
Okay.
And 5 is like the average ledge dash. So let me just quickly try it with down and see what number I get.
Is down just worse?
I'm not informed enough to say.
Okay.
If I'm honest, I just know roughly how it works for down for back. Sorry.
Yeah.
Let me share again quickly. Once my game boots up.
The 9 pages, and that jump is taunting me. Wait, can you show us screen?
Yeah. I was just checking it was working. Screen. Don't want to do that stage. Yeah, so I do it with backs. This is going to be a little bit hard. There we go. Okay, so that was down.
Jesus.
So I got 4.
Okay.
So I don't actually think it matters whether you do back or down. I think you pretty much always want 4 or 5.
Okay. It's just air dodging quicker.
Yeah, air dodging quicker, yeah. So like the frames I could have saved there were cliff weight and an air dodge frame, I think.
Yeah. I think so.
So yeah, one thing Drug Fox actually told me to do was like imagine you're trying to ledge dash as Fox.
Yeah.
So literally just close your eyes and do it. And imagine you're playing as Fox, and that'll help you get 4s. I think again I'm not 100% sure, but I think down is more punishing for if you don't get it. It has the highest sort of like frames you can get from it, but I think it's more punishing on how like if you drop full frames or like cliff frames or whatever.
Okay. Makes sense.
There we go. Like I got an 11 with jump 5 there, so it's definitely doable.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Can you show me doing it again just to see if there's anything else?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, the air dodge frame is the big problem there.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say it is. Have you ever tried ledge dashing with Fox out of interest?
No, never.
Okay, try it with Fox. Yeah, try it with Fox for a little bit.
Okay.
You just have to be really fast with it.
Whoa.
Yeah, you got 5 there and you got 10, right?
Wait, is that easy? I feel like.
Yeah, I personally think Fox's is easier to get in off of. You got 6 there, 5.
Okay.
5. Yeah,
it
so it does feel different. Yeah. So how I would go about practicing it is just when you're doing your ledge dashes, don't bother about if you hit them. Just focus on the air dodge timing, the trigger press timing.
Yeah.
That's how I've sort of relearned mine recently, and I just sort of broke it down into like focusing on letting a ledge as quick as possible, focusing on falling for the right amount of time, and focusing on air dodging. And I think that's sort of the best way to go about it.
Right.
Cool. Are you free tomorrow, by the way? Either to come around or to play?